In a world that prides itself on progress, conformity remains one of the most powerful forces alive. We're told to be ourselves, to think differently, to stand out. But those who actually do, those who truly deviate from the norm, not just in appearance, but in thought, in values, in soul, quickly discover a darker truth. That being different is dangerous. Not because difference is bad, but because sameness is safe. And safety is what the collective craves above all. Carl Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist and pioneer of depth psychology, understood this better than almost anyone. To Jung, true individuality, what he called individuation, wasn't just a lifestyle, it was a threat, a quiet existential revolution. And the further you go into yourself, the more likely you are to face resistance, not only from the outside world, but from deep within. In this journey, we will explore why being different feels dangerous, why society reacts with fear and suppression, and how Jung believed the only way to be whole is to risk being alone. This is the story of the outsider, of the misfit, of the one who awakens, and what it truly costs to become yourself. Carl Jung believed that most human behavior is governed by what he called the collective unconscious, a deep psychological inheritance, built not just by personal experience, but by centuries of cultural memory, symbols, fears, and desires. Within the collective, there is comfort. We feel protected by routines, traditions, shared values. We belong, but there's a hidden cost to that belonging. In order to be accepted by the group, you must suppress parts of yourself. You must fit the mold. You must become like the others. Not too strange, not too bold, not too real. The collective does not hate difference because it's wrong. It hates difference because it's unpredictable. It threatens the illusion of order. The more a man's life is shaped by the collective norm, Jung wrote, the greater is his moral and spiritual dependence on the outside. To be different then, to truly step outside the norms of your time, is to break a kind of unspoken psychological contract. You are no longer protected, you are now a target. Jung observed that societies often respond to deviance with hostility, even violence. Not because the deviant person is doing harm, but because their very existence reminds the group of what it has rejected: the truth, the shadow, the unknown. When someone dares to speak what is unspoken, to live outside the frame, they become a mirror, and most people cannot bear to look at what they've buried. So instead, they project their fears outward. This is the root of the scapegoat mechanism, an unconscious ritual in which the group blames, exiles, or destroys the one who reflects its hidden guilt. This isn't just metaphor, it's embedded in culture, religion, politics, even family dynamics. Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But instead of understanding, most people attack, because blaming is easier than changing. And the scapegoat, the one who dares to be different, makes change feel unavoidable. To Jung, the process of individuation was the cornerstone of personal transformation. It meant uncovering who you truly are, beyond masks, beyond roles, beyond what the world demands. But what Jung also knew, and what many forget, is that this journey is rarely celebrated. It is often met with resistance, judgment, and silence, because to individuate, you must first separate from the systems that shaped you, from the stories you inherited, from the false self you once believed was you. Individuation means becoming an individual, and insofar as individuality embraces our innermost last and incomparable uniqueness, it also implies becoming one's own self. This process, while liberating, is also isolating. You leave the safety of the tribe, you enter the wilderness of the soul. People who once felt like home may no longer understand you, they may even resent you. Why? Because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Your courage disrupts their comfort. So many turn back. They rejoin the collective, they conform, not out of belief, but out of exhaustion. But the few who stay the course become something else entirely, not just different, but whole. Jung introduced the idea of the persona, the mask we wear to navigate society. It's the version of ourselves we present to the world: the agreeable student, the productive employee, the obedient citizen, the nice friend. There's nothing wrong with the persona. We need it to function, to connect, to survive. But when you forget it's a mask, when the persona becomes the identity, you lose touch with your real self. The persona is a complicated system of relations. Jung wrote, between individual consciousness and society. Fittingly enough, a kind of mask, designed on the one hand to make a definite impression upon others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. Many people live entire lives behind a persona. They die having never met themselves. The danger comes when someone begins to question the mask, when they take it off, even for a moment, and realize how much of their life has been spent pretending. And if you're one of those rare few who does take off the mask, who stops performing, who speaks the truth, you'll find that authenticity often leads to exile, because society needs the play to go on, and the actor who drops the script disrupts the whole stage. One of Jung's most powerful contributions was his concept of the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche, made up of everything we deny, repress or reject, our fears, our envy, our rage, our desires, our wounds. We all carry a shadow, but most people refuse to face it. Instead, they see it in others. The person who is too intense, too honest, too strange, too different. To embrace your difference, to be truly authentic, is to live in close contact with your shadow. You are no longer hiding, you are integrating. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, Jung said, but by making the darkness conscious. This terrifies people, because they have built entire lives avoiding the darkness. And when someone stands in that dark honestly, when someone says, "This is who I am, shadow and all," they are often punished. Not because they are wrong, but because they've become a mirror. And people destroy mirrors when they don't like what they see. To truly understand why being different is so dangerous, we must explore Jung's idea of the collective mind, or what he called the collective unconscious. This is the psychic blueprint that shapes entire societies. It holds ancestral memories, archetypes, and cultural patterns passed down over generations. And here's the truth: the collective mind is deeply conservative, not politically, but psychologically. It seeks order, sameness, predictability. When you challenge those patterns, by thinking differently, acting differently, being different, you become a threat to the stability of the group psyche. Jung wrote, "Every step forward in culture is a step away from the herd instinct." In a way, your individuality is perceived as a kind of psychic violence, not because you're trying to harm anyone, but because your presence disturbs the established equilibrium. You remind the group that other paths are possible, that conformity isn't destiny, that freedom exists, and for many, that is unbearable. So what happens? They attack the outsider, not always with fists, but with silence, with labels, with judgment, with exclusion. And that is how society defends itself from transformation. It punishes authenticity, not because it's wrong, but because it's dangerous to the collective trance. Throughout human history, the rebel has always played a powerful symbolic role. In Jungian terms, the rebel is an archetype, a psychic blueprint that appears in myths, religions, stories, and dreams. The rebel breaks rules, challenges systems, questions traditions, and lives with the consequences. Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods. Socrates, who was sentenced to death for corrupting young minds. Christ, who challenged religious authority and was crucified. Nietzsche, who declared that God is dead and went mad. These aren't just historical figures. They are psychic realities, reflections of the price of standing alone. Jung believed that these archetypes live within all of us. And when you begin to awaken your authenticity, you awaken the rebel within. But here's the paradox. The rebel is also the wounded one, the one cast out, the one misunderstood, the one who pays. Jung knew this intimately. He walked away from Freud, from academic prestige, from the comfortable path. And for years he walked alone, in what he called a confrontation with the unconscious. Not everyone is called to be a rebel, but those who are, often have no choice. It is not ambition that drives them, it's necessity, it's survival, because to deny their truth would be a slow death, a betrayal of the soul. Being different, truly different, is not just a matter of appearance or lifestyle. It is often the result of awareness, a deeper perception, a broader inner landscape, a sharper sense of contradiction, absurdity, or injustice. Highly sensitive people, creative thinkers, philosophical minds, truth-tellers, they all share this dangerous gift. They see too much. They see the cracks in the system, the games people play, the lies we tell to survive. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This awareness isolates, because most people don't want to see. Not really. They want comfort, not clarity. They want reassurance, not reality. And so the aware person becomes the outsider, not because they chose to be, but because awareness exiled them. Jung wrote, "The more insignificant the individual becomes in the mass, the more formidable does the mass become, and the more obvious is the individual's need to rescue himself from the mass by becoming consciously aware of himself." Awareness is both a blessing and a burden. It is the light that reveals, but also the fire that burns. Carl Jung believed that the most important psychological task of every individual is individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming who you truly are, beyond the masks, the roles and the expectations. It's not self-improvement. It's not success in the eyes of others. It's self-realization, the integration of the unconscious and the conscious, the unification of shadow and persona, the awakening of the self, not the ego. But individuation comes with a price. You must leave the safety of the crowd. You must dare to question what everyone else accepts. You must risk misunderstanding, rejection, and exile. Jung wrote, "To become conscious of oneself involves a continuous fight, a painful process of self-liberation." And here's the key insight. The more you individuate, the more different you will appear. You may lose friends, you may lose status, you may be labeled strange, difficult, or even dangerous. Because in a world addicted to sameness, authenticity looks like rebellion. But Jung believed that this lonely, perilous path is the only road to true psychological freedom. He did not promise it would be easy. He promised it would be meaningful. And meaning, for Jung, was always more valuable than comfort. Let's ask a radical question. Why does society really punish difference? Is it out of malice, ignorance, envy? Partly. But deeper still, it's fear. Because the outsider holds up a mirror, and in that mirror, society sees its own unresolved wounds. The person who chooses authenticity forces the world to confront its inauthenticity. The thinker who questions everything threatens the illusions we cling to. The artist, the mystic, the philosopher, all are reminders that there is more to life than survival, status, and conformity. And that truth is unbearable to those who've invested everything in the system. So what does the system do? It protects itself. It labels, it ridicules, it silences. But ironically, the outsider is also what society needs most. The creative mind, Jung wrote, plays with the objects it loves. But the society that fears the creative mind turns the player into the enemy. Those who dare to be different carry the seeds of evolution. They disturb the present so that the future can be born. Every great transformation in history began with a few people who were brave enough to defy the collective trance. So while it may be dangerous to be different, it is also necessary. Carl Jung never wanted people to fit in. He wanted them to wake up. He didn't teach conformity. He taught consciousness. He believed the goal of life was not to be accepted, but to become whole. And the final irony, when you truly become yourself, when you embrace your difference fully, when you embody your shadow, live your truth, and speak with clarity, you do become dangerous. Not in the way society fears, but in a higher sacred sense. Dangerous to illusion, dangerous to manipulation, dangerous to lies, dangerous to the systems that keep people asleep. And this is the power of individuation, not to destroy the world, but to reveal a deeper one. To be different, in the way Jung meant, is to become a living reminder of what's possible. Yes, it's dangerous, but it's also beautiful, because the world doesn't need more conformity, it needs more realness. And maybe, just maybe, your courage to be different is the exact medicine this world is starving for. So what does it really mean to live as someone who is different? It means waking up every day and choosing to be conscious, even when it would be easier to sleep. It means listening to your inner voice, even when the outer world demands silence. It means walking the path of individuation, not because it's safe, but because it's real. Carl Jung never promised that the journey would be comfortable. In fact, he warned us, becoming yourself is the most dangerous thing you can do in a world built on illusion. But he also taught this: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. You are not here to conform. You are not here to perform. You are here to transform, to become the most honest, integrated, and whole version of yourself. And yes, the world may misunderstand you. They may resist your difference, fear your voice, and even try to diminish your light. But here's the paradox: what makes you different is exactly what makes you powerful. Your depth, your insight, your sensitivity. These aren't weaknesses. They are signals that you are awake in a world that prefers sleep. So take heart. You are not alone in your difference. You are part of a quiet revolution, the awakening of the self, one soul at a time. Because the most radical act in a world that punishes authenticity is to remain authentic anyway. And if you're still listening now, after all this time, maybe, just maybe, you're already one of the brave, the ones who feel deeply, think clearly, and refuse to become anyone other than who they truly are. In the end, Jung's message is not one of despair, but of deep hope. The world doesn't need you to fit in. It needs you to wake up. So go be dangerous, in the most beautiful way. Thank you for listening.